Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Sri Damodara Janani, the mother of Lord Damodar, by His Holiness Sivarama Swami. At the moment, we are reading from chapter 4. Yashoda finds and catches Krishna. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatam hum vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. At the top of the stairway leading to the back garden was a latticed window. Stealthily approaching it, Yashoda peeked out, and lo and behold, in the courtyard below she saw he who yogis fail to see in their hearts even after many years of penance. Standing on a large upturned wooden mortar, his lotus eyes rolling in agitation, Krishna was silently clapping his hands to catch the attention of nearby monkeys. "I cannot believe it," she whispered. Just after Krishna's birth, to avoid the disturbance that grinding would cause her sleeping son, Yashoda had the tall spice mortar removed from her kitchen and taken to the courtyard. When unused, it was kept upside down so that the birds could not soil it with its large decorative pestle nearby. Yashoda whispered to herself, "Incredible, he scaled that high mortar without anything to step on." And so he had. Now balancing on the mortar, Krishna looked like a Gopa conductor bringing monkey musicians to attention. Yashoda watched the monkeys fearlessly approach as Krishna sat down on the mortar, crossed his chubby legs in swastikasan and placed the pot in his lap. "Where did he learn to sit like a yogi?" The wind answered, "Mother, he is the guru of all yogis." Seeing all the monkeys heeding Krishna's call, she added, "But it is all for naught. He is now transformed from the prince of yogis into the king of monkeys." She paused. "By associating too much with those mischief mongers, my son has become as mischievous as a monkey. And so the king is holding court, rewarding his ministers for their counsel." Truly, Krishna appeared like a monkey king, but unlike a carefree king, Krishna was anxiously looking here and there, his bumblebee eyes restless at the inevitable appearance of his mother. As if to calm himself, Krishna dipped into the pot, scooped out a handful of yogurt, deftly swallowed half and threw the rest to the nearest monkey. At that, the others crowded around. Krishna kept the monkeys in order with clicking sounds while systematically handing yogurt to one after the other. While doing so, he regularly looked around to see if anyone was approaching. Unable to suppress her joy, Yashoda covered her mouth to keep from laughing. No doubt they have a natural affinity for each other, and surely they did. The monkeys of Gokula were no ordinary monkeys. Long ago, when Krishna had appeared as Sri Ram, the monkeys had helped him retrieve his wife Sita from the clutches of the demon Ravan. In gratitude for their sacrifice, then Krishna was feeding the monkeys now, and he was feeding them to their full satisfaction. But Krishna's act of simian charity would not be without retribution. He knew that the theft of yogurt, and more so the vandalizing of Yashoda's storeroom, would provoke some sort of punishment. That had been the case even for lesser transgressions in the past, and in the present escapade, Krishna had truly crossed the boundary from childish mischief to juvenile delinquency. It was only a matter of time before an angry Mother Yashoda would find him, and when she did, she would not be sympathetic to the excuse of his long-standing debt to his monkey allies. Transcendental fear overcame Krishna. It took hold of his entire being in the way that an enemy king directs his army to overrun a town. Although demons and demigods fear him, Krishna's every limb and sense was victimized by divine fear of his mother. As he fed the monkeys, Krishna repeatedly looked to the left and to the right, his lotus eyes dancing nervously on the stage of transcendental emotion. His mind echoed the cries of his every limb When is she coming? From which direction will she come? Although feeling little remorse, Krishna's agitated heart raced, his breathing labored, and the palms of his hands stung uncomfortably. It seemed that fate had turned against him, and colluding with his mother, it was punishing him even before her arrival. His eyes dilated, his nose flared, and his mouth slightly opened. Krishna struggled to contain the fear in his mind, a mind that instinctively clamored, run, hide, flee. But Krishna's warrior spirit could not bow to the coward's dharma. What would his friends say when they heard he had run away? Instead, he devised a plan. If she catches me, mother will brand me a thief. To protect myself from her and from my friends' ridicule, I will become invisible. Krishna's plan was to disappear. He would assume the role of a mystic yogi and become smaller than the smallest and enter an atom. There were many such atoms in the mortar, and Yashoda would never find him there. Turning his eyes inward, his mind fixed on the supersoul, Krishna entered the path of perfected mystics. After all, he was their guru. Steadying his senses, fixing his mind, and controlling his breathing, Krishna prayed to the Supreme Soul. Nothing happened, he thought. Yogis who worship me in my atomic form, pervading all subtle elements, fixing their minds on that alone, attain the mystic perfection of anima. Why can I not do so? Yet, try as he might, Krishna was unable to accomplish his desire. Some invisible force restrained him. Some force greater than his own kept him from disappearing. What is it in the way that an ant is stopped by human's hand? Krishna, whose potencies are insuperable, was obstructed by a superior power. But that power was superior to Krishna's mysticism, only the power of love, the power of Mother Yashoda's love, a love fully determined to discipline Krishna, a love fully determined that he not grow into a delinquent, a love similar to Radha's, who in the future would force Krishna to relinquish a Narayan disguise. And the wielder of that power was now tiptoeing down the palace stairs, planning to catch her thieving son unaware, as he pondered how he of all beings had fallen from the yogic path. Yashoda Devi had been looking through the latticed window into the courtyard below, eager to play the role and that fate had scripted for her. She craned her neck, turning it sideways to better see without being seen. Then slowly, with measured steps, she cautiously followed Krishna's footprints down the stairs, halting inside the doorway to have another peek. Although he is the intelligence of the most intelligent, Krishna mistakenly sat with his back to the house, giving his mother the added advantage of sneaking upon him. Yet the monkeys were his sentinels, and facing her they would react to her approach. Thinking, let me be patient until the monkeys are distracted by their feast, Queen Yashoda waited for the opportune moment, and when it came, careful not to step on fallen leaves or twigs, she moved forward. As she took her first step, excited, so stirred Yashoda's being as to challenge her balance. However, the birds on the balcony thought that restraining her laughter was an even greater challenge still. Taking her next step, Mother Yashoda noticed her husband's jeweled walking stick against the wall. He must have forgotten it in the flurry of his departure. Yashoda Devi looked at Krishna and back again to the cane. For unprecedented mischief, unprecedented discipline is required. She grasped the stick and she did the earth. As she did, the earth seemed to shake. What would happen to the creation and its residents if their shelter and support was beaten? I will not hit him, she thought, but I will give him a good scare. Mountains, rivers, and demigods sighed in relief. Moving forward like Yamaraja's emissary, Yashoda held the stick in her left hand. Unable to stand by idly, a breeze asked, "What will you do when you reach your son?" Yashoda's heart replied, "I will catch him. What else? Do you think you can catch me? Why are you causing a disturbance? Because what you are undertaking may be far more difficult than you anticipate, O Queen. Hush." Unable to follow her order, the wind whispered softly in Krishna's ear, O Lord, she whom you cannot see or hear, but fear most is near. Flee! Krishna spun around. He who enchants the demigods with his monsoon-hued limbs saw Yashoda approaching. In fear he leapt to his feet. Standing atop the mortar, Krishna caught his mother's intent gaze, and for a moment their eyes locked. Mother Yashoda was like a yogi in trance, in that way that a mystic is fully absorbed on his lord. She was fully fixed on her son, but unlike a yogi, the queen held the stick. Krishna's gaze went from hers to the cane. He knew that the punishment was inevitable. But a stick, is she actually holding a stick? He who sees everything everywhere doubted that he now saw. To clear his vision, he blinked. She was holding a stick. Krishna had seen his mother raise a stick to chase monkeys and to herd cows, but never to discipline him. He was incredulous. Is she really threatening me with a stick? The jewels on the stick flashed in the morning sun. O Lord, you are the supreme chastiser and I your instrument, yet I am helpless in the hands of your mother. Please do not take offense. But Krishna had no time for pardons. Jumping from the mortar, he was like a Prahlad, thrown from a cliff into an abyss unknown. But who would catch him? How would he escape it? How would this escapade end? How was this happening? Landing on his chubby feet, Krishna stole another look at his mother. Was this all real? Is she really coming at me with a stick? The wind answered. Run, run. The cane added. If the queen can raise a stick, she can also use it. Krishna needed no further advice. He ran, and so did the bold monkeys who had their fill of yogurt. Scampering up the nearest forest, they taunted the stick and screeched at the thought of it touching Krishna. Although they had fought Ravan in Lanka, they were powerless before Yashoda in Gokul. The demigods and sages who were fortunate enough to witness this scene looked on in wonder, mesmerized by the collage of Krishna's transcendental beauty, abode and pastimes. As Krishna ran at full speed, his newly fitted earrings swung widely, shooting colored rays across his cheeks. Being in such close proximity to him, the earrings attained a good fortune that had heretofore been Yashoda's, the bliss of kissing his lotus face. By this blessing, Krishna's earrings would become famous as the chief of his ornaments. Yet even his chief ornament, the kundala, failed to beautify Krishna as well as he beautified himself. He whose divine form was indeed the ornament of all ornaments. The demigods observed this fountainhead of beauty and were enchanted. Although there were many incarnations and deities throughout the universe, none would compare to the charm of this child. The demigods concluded that this was due to the distinctiveness of Gokula, where lived gopas and gopis, cows and calves. Only in Gokula would the sweetness of Krishna's beauty be fully manifested, and only in Gokula could his extraordinary feature as a cowherd be revealed. Fascinated, one demigod said to the other, how extraordinary! For the crime of stealing fresh yogurt, the Supreme Lord is being threatened by a stick-wielding gopi. Moreover, who is he who is feared by demons and we demigods alike is running away in fear of her? Fear, cut in another demigod. Yes, Krishna is running from his mother in fear. Overhearing this conversation, similar to one they had had earlier, the birds nodded their heads in agreement and listened to the demigods converse. Is he really afraid or just running as if he were afraid? Of course, Krishna knows how much he loves him. Therefore, he is also confident that she cannot be angry for long. But is that really the case? Look at his face. Is the land of Gokula where there is no chance of pretense for even the Supreme Lord? The law of sweetness dictates that he behaves like an ordinary child. We must therefore conclude that he is full of fear. Yes, such a display of emotion may be bewildering even to the learned, but the Lord's associates say, Bhaya, Bhavanya. Krishna is possessed by the thoughts of fear. That was the demigod's conclusion. Krishna was afraid. In the meantime, reasoning that there would be many people on the road, Krishna ran towards the front gate. Surely the queen would not strike him in the presence of her subjects. But even if she tried, he could hide among the crowds or find the guardian amongst them. Once again, he who is the wisdom of the wise erred in judgment. It was Deepavali day and almost everyone had left for the festival. The customary gathering for the royal audience was absent. Knowing this, all-wise Yashoda Devi ran after Krishna without hesitation. Krishna was perplexed at his own conduct. Why am I running away? After all, who could catch me? Even the yogis who meditate on me through excruciating penances and over a long time only mold their minds to a form like my own, yet I personally remain far from them. If they cannot catch me, then why should I fear this gopi? Panting, Krishna answered his own questions because she holds the secret of unconditional love and that love can control, catch and punish me. That said, Mother Yashoda was still a good distance from Krishna. Although the force of her loving desire bridled him, neither could she catch him nor could he escape. It was a tug of war in which they were for the time being evenly matched. In the future, the demon Kalyavan would run after Krishna and never to reach him because of his own sinful and antagonistic ways. But Yashoda was neither sinful nor antagonistic. She was pure and loving. There is a further difference, thought Krishna. I did not have to run from Kalyavan. I walk leisurely, but now I have to run. And if I do not, she will catch me. How is that possible? It was possible by Yashoda's unparalleled good fortune, which surpassed the good fortune of all devotees. What to speak of the asceticism of yogis and demons? She could hold Krishna on her lap and breastfeed him, and when she was so asked, he would dance to her songs. Why then could she not cause him to run? When there is a gale, travelers are swept forward by the wind. Similarly, I feel as if I am in a gale whose wind is forcing me to flee. Yes, Krishna was being propelled forward by a gale that was the gusty wind of Yashoda's love. As for Mother, Yashoda thought that she would catch him with the very next step, yet he continued to remain one step away. While she was supreme love personified, he was supreme independence personified. Both were supreme in their own right, both were determined, yet neither could gain ground over the other. No matter how much they tried, mother and son remained one arm distant, never any closer, never any further. He could get no further. For Yashoda, Krishna was an ordinary boy, perhaps just a little more than ordinary, but her son, nonetheless a Gopa of their village, and her conviction of his humanness was so unshakable that it took the tree of his divinity to its roots. But the arm's length between them remained. Stop running, she called out. Stop, O foremost of the world's thieves. Wide-eyed with fear, Krishna looked over his shoulder to see the image of maternal love. For a moment, the attractiveness of his mother arrested his movement. Her effulgent beauty, her full breasts, her broad hips all radiated a magnetic affection that caught his heart and made him falter. It seemed that he would stop, and just when he was within Yashoda's reach, the wind advised turn away. As he did, Krishna was freed from his mother's magnetic attraction, and momentum returned to his legs. He ran once again. Once again, they were an arm's length apart. Yashoda Devi was determined to discipline her son, and so she followed swiftly after him. But soon after, she began to feel the weight of her large hips and breasts and a rising fatigue in her legs. In the physically hampered condition, beads of perspirations falling from her arms and face, she became mentally distressed. Will I tire faster than he? Using her superior intelligence, beautiful Yashoda applied psychological intimidation and compensate for her weariness. Stop, stop, you thief and liar. How dare you run from your mother? Stop where you are and stop carrying on so. Yashoda's order did not fall on deaf ears. Krishna had never disobeyed his mother, but then neither had she ever threatened him with a stick. Slowing somewhat but still keeping his distance, he turned to call over his shoulder, I will stop if you drop your stick. Yashoda sensed a measure of success from her command and an equal measure of surrender in his answer. She slowed happily to ease her tired limbs. In response, Krishna stopped, keeping a respectful distance while casting wary glances as Yashoda's wiped her brow. If you are afraid of punishment, then why did you break my butter churn and ransack my straw house? Still looking at his mother from the corner of his eyes, Krishna's voice wavered. I will never do it again. And then looking at the stick, he added, please drop the stick. Loving devotion transformed Yashoda Devi's mind into a temple of amazement in which presiding deity was the never before seen form of Krishna, a Krishna full of fear. But when with stick in hand she tried to approach her deity, it ran away. Again they remained at arm's length. However, this contest was not just between mother and son. There was a third participant, Yogamaya, and Yogamaya decided that it was time to offer oblations into the fire of Yashoda's aspiration. Divinely inspired by her son's own potency, knitting her eyebrows, the queen again chased after naughty Krishna. The brief respite had refreshed Yashoda, but like yogis and jananis, she was unable to she was unable to capture him, yet driven by love she continued to try, and as she did, the momentum of her moments caused by her garlanded hair knot to come undone and its flowers to fall at her feet, trying to atone for having tattled on her, and the wind made the flowers fall before and behind the queen, offering Pushpanjali. In truth, the demigods had orchestrated this shower of flowers in an effort to worship the Lord's mother, although there was only one handful of flowers in her hands. By the demigods, although there was only a handful of flowers in her hairs, by the demigods' desire, a continual stream of petals softened the ground where she stepped, and another stream worshipped her footprints, the most sacred of sacred places. Although thoughts of Yashoda's stick distressed Krishna to extreme, he could not help but to smile at the demigods' worship. They have done well. Seeing his mother redouble spirit, Krishna sows the psychological intimidation of his own. With long wailing sounds and showers of false pride, he published his tale of woe, thinking, mother will be intimidated if I attract the attention of the neighbors. But Mother Yashoda was not intimidated in the least. To the contrary, she loudly rebuked him. Who are you to complain, O best of thieves? Running as fast as she could, Yashoda tried to close the distance between them, but no matter how she tried, she could not quite reach him. Sometimes it appears as if they were a gust of wind, sometimes that they were a blur of monsoon blue, sometimes that they were a small cloud followed by a larger cloud, yet always they were a picture of beauty and treat for the eyes. Suddenly Krishna changed his random maneuvers and headed for the compounded gates. It was his last refuge. Where is there shelter for me in this world? But Yashoda Devi was intent, and following him she made her attention cleared with the whoosh whoosh of the swinging cane. Seeing his mother's persistent anger, running as fast as he could, Krishna, who was also tiring, called out in distress, O mother, O sinless one, please drop that stick. Do not punish me with it. If you drop it, I will come to you. Weighing the balance, his plea and her own fatigue, Yashoda made as if to throw away the stick, and while actually hiding it behind her, I have thrown it away, deceived Krishna slowed, and by turning towards her, slowed even more, with Yashoda still running at full speed. The mystical arm's length vanished, and she wrapped her right hand around his wrist. Now you're caught, rascal. He was unattainable by the prayers of Brahmana, the speculation of jnanis, or the meditation of yogis. Krishna was now arrested by the love of Mother Yashoda. After all, he was just playing in the drama of her motherly affection. For a moment, neither mother nor son spoke. Seeing these developments, the demigods marveled. Seeing these Initially, seeing these developments, the demigods marveled. They were immortal and they were wise, but they failed to comprehend that what they saw. Initially, Brahma and Shiva were upset to see Krishna exhibit fear from his mother, but now they were completely bewildered to see her capture him. If Krishna were so susceptible to gopis, then he could he really protect them, indifferent to the concerns of Yet the touch of her son's hand filled her with exhilaration that refreshed not only her limbs but her very being. How special he is, she thought. That he was but special as he was. Krishna was worried. Under the control of his mother's hand, he whimpered, "Mother, please do not beat me." And with his free hand, he rubbed his tear-filled eyes with his palm, resembling the delicate petals of fresh lotus. With a choked voice, Krishna's beautiful mouth emitted a stream of sweet, indistinct words that shamed the nectar cascading from a full moon. Fully realizing that he was helpless in his mother's grasp, his mumbling transformed into sobs. Yashoda thought, in this disturbed condition, this boy is likely to do anything. He is so strong-willed that he may even run away into the forest like Dhruva. Better that I secure him to an immovable object until he is composed. Thank you for joining. And of course, Mother Yashoda also thought, I will tie him down. Thank you for joining. And with this, chapter 4 comes to an end. Yashoda finds and catches Krishna. We will begin chapter 5 next time. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.